Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Fetch Quest podcast, where we talk about video games and more. I'm your host, Guy, joined by my fellow co-host, Connor,
Hello.
Brewer,
Hey, everybody.
Liam,
Hello.
and Jay.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. So I don't know about you guys. I am ready for another epic. Wait, what was that?
Yeah, what was that?
Guys, it's him!
Who?
Huh?
Oh no, not again.
Dude, how did you all die to Diablos?
Well, guy hit me with his hammer into his attack. Guy.
Dang it, we're gonna have to prepare again.
Oh boy.
Fine, another hunt. I mean, it's Monster Hunter, so it's fun no matter what. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, specifically Monster Hunter World. What is it? What is it about? How did it become Capcom's most successful game up to this point? And why do we love it so much for what it is? All talked about in today's episode. Boys, oh my fucking god, I am so excited to talk about Monster Hunter World. Okay. There were like 4 games out there that I would say are like my foundational brain rot video games. Persona 5 is one of them. God of War is another one. Smash is the third one, and then Monster Hunter is number 4. This is one of the best things I've ever experienced, and I'm so glad we get to talk about today. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Monster Hunter made me it was such a big part of my life, especially during high school. That was like during COVID and all that. That Monster Hunter ate up so much of my free time because I couldn't do anything, and I just hunted all the time. Me and Guy met through Monster Hunter, and it's just one of the best games I've ever played, and I'm so very excited to be talking about it today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
no,
played a
that's
lot of
actually,
different
that's
Monster
actually a
Hunter.
funny story.
Yeah, I played a lot of different
What's up,
Monster Hunter games, and only just recently last year is when I started playing World for the first time. So I'm very excited to talk about this game because it's been a long time coming for me.
This is my first Monster Hunter game, so I
Yeah.
can't say as much as like a legacy player, but like as a new player, I like it a lot.
yeah, me and Liam are kind of peas in a pod in this situation where this is a game that Guy really was like, you need to play this, and we were like, and so yeah, this is also my first Monster Hunter game, but I can attest with Liam that this is a very good game, and that as a new player going in, like I really enjoyed this game a lot. I do have some unique perspective on it, which we'll get into later, but yeah, no, this game's really good.
I mean, we keep glazing it. We should probably explain what it is, shall we?
You're the world expert here, so why don't you explain it?
Let's fucking do it. Alright. Monster Hunter World is Capcom's most prized possession. It is the first Monster Hunter game that released on all modern systems in HD, except for the Nintendo Switch, because, you know, it cannot run for shit on the
It
Switch.
would explode if it tried to
But-
run on Switch.
Take off into space.
Yep. And Monster Hunter, prior to this, was pretty much a all Nintendo series. Whether it be for Ultimate and Generations on 3DS and Generations Ultimate being on the Nintendo Switch, the series never really moved in a direction that, like, in HD, it kind of like kept with the same like, I would say, like, graphical fidelity to just use like different mechanics to try and like experiment with gameplay. But this was the first time ever where the devs wanted to just utilize the systems of the time and the technology to create an experience that not only was immersive, but utilized the full aspects of the technology at the time. And one thing that they wanted to prioritize with this game is that they did not call it Monster Hunter 5 so that more people could play it, like, not thinking there's an entry to barrier, like a barrier entry. But I need to talk about what exactly you do in this game. Monster Hunter, on a basic premise, is you hunt monsters
No
typically they're
way.
very
Wait,
large
guy,
and have
You're telling me you
what's
hunt
up?
monsters in this game?
Mind.
You hunt monsters
Yeah.
in the game Monster Hunter? Holy shit.
You've got to be pulling my ass.
Are
Oh
you
my god. I couldn't think this up. Jeez. Such genius writing
Guys,
only to be done by an English major.
look, okay, you would be surprised how many people who have asked me, "What do you do in Monster Hunter?"
Well, okay.
Give it a name, God. No.
I'm gonna
anyone who asked that gets the lobotomy.
Okay, no, okay,
Yeah.
look, I'm not gonna say her name, but one of my teachers back in high school, English teacher by the way, she wrote my recommendation letter. I was talking to her about Monster Hunter Rise because it was about to come out, and she was like, "Okay, the game looks cool, but what do you do in it?" And I was like,
Bruh,
"Oh
English
no."
teacher.
By the way.
No, I love her. She's great. She's great. She's great. She's a great teacher. If she's watching this video, hi. But
Yeah.
still,
Throw in shade even though she gave you a recommendation to change your life.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I think I know who that teacher is.
Connor knows exactly who it is. Yeah,
yeah,
but
I know-
we're not gonna name drop. Yeah.
not name dropping, but that seems in character.
Okay, but point is that you fight the monsters, and what you do is that you take the materials that are typically carved or broken off from the monsters to create gear, whether that is weapons or armor, that will increase the amount of damage you do, the amount of hits you can take. Basically, you're just getting stronger by fighting bigger and tougher monsters. So it's a constant like loop of you are constantly getting stronger so you can fight stronger monsters, and then you use the gear from those strong monsters so that you yourself can be stronger.
Which also have skills on the gear to help you, like depending on the weapon you're using, or just to give you more HP, or just there's a bunch of different skills that armor sets have that
Yeah.
just work, just make you stronger. Like I was,
Yeah. For example, if you use a weapon that has a shield on it, some of the armor pieces you have may have a skill called guard on it, which is going to increase your guarding capabilities with those weapons. Obviously, good for weapons like, let's say, sword and shield, charge blade. But maybe if I'm using the hammer, it's not so useful. So you have a lot of thinking to do. It's like, okay, which armor piece is going to match with my weapon the best to give me the best benefits, while also giving me good resistances against this death god that I'm fighting.
and also the armor pieces they in Worlds. Well, was decorations a thing in the older games? I'd never got to play them because they were
Yeah, so
on.
they changed how they work in this game.
Oh, okay.
Yes and no, because on one hand they were there back then, but also they worked completely differently, and they got changes for the better. I love the old games, but goddamn, it was making a mix set was fucking hard in those games.
Well, for example, like each armor, they have decoration slots, which you also put into account when you're looking at armors you want to craft, because decorations basically allow you to insert whatever skill you want on that armor. So it's like, dang, this armor is really good, but I wish I had this skill. Well, if it has the decoration slot, you can put that skill on that armor. And it's just an amazing system that worked really well, and they only made better in the DLC.
And it was just a
Yeah, no, I agree.
Which I think the biggest complaint anyone had is that the decoration grind in World was awful. I think that was the biggest complaint people had about that system.
Oh, it was terrible. It was so fucking bad. But we'll get into that later.
Oh yes.
Basically, like you can make your own builds with like the armors you have, the weapons you use. This is a game that rewards you for experimenting so that you yourself can not only get stronger in terms of like statistically, but also stronger as a hunter. But I want to talk about I want to get into some of the like basis of it, because I know this is going to be a little, this is weird for some of the people on Fetch Quest, because I played this game, me and Jay played this game when as stuff was coming out, when stuff was completely brand new, completely fresh. However, I know Connor, Liam, and Brewer all played this game literally last year in 2024 for the first time.
Yeah, game wasn't getting any more updates.
So
Well,
I want to hear their
to be
perspectives
fair,
as like,
I did
Yeah.
start the game when it came out, and then I had nobody to play it with, and it was a really big learning curve, so I stopped, but I did get to like, I think I got to like
You got
Rotten Vale or something like that.
I was about to say you got to Great Jagras and then you quit.
No, I got a good, I got a decent amount in.
Bro got soloed by the fearsome Great Jagras.
I got all the way to like probably Oda Garen or something like that, and then I stopped playing because I was like, I still don't understand half of the mechanics in this game, and I don't really want to play this game by myself.
That's something I was fortunate to have. Is I had a friend who he played the older Monster Hunter games, so at least a handful of them, and he helped me understand the weapons. Like back in World was the first time I picked up the Charge Blade, and he helped me understand the file system and everything, and like combos of it. And I just took that and ran with it. So, having
Yeah,
fun.
no, that I mean, okay, that is kind of a thing that like I cannot stress enough with getting into this series, especially like I want to say this game in particular, is that it's really hard to understand everything at the beginning, which I'm not gonna lie, that's one flaw of the game. I wish I had better tutorials on like some mechanics. I know Brewer can talk more about this, but like the flinching mechanics, that's one. But just like
I
how
can
certain
also
weapons
talk
work.
about that. Because that mechanic, I didn't know I had certain moves until like halfway through Iceborne.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different interactions that you just don't understand or aren't really taught to you. That like veterans in the series will like kind of yawn at you, like, damn, how did you not know that your big ass sword is gonna be tripping us? At the same time, though, like they don't ever really make it super clear. Like maybe there's like a tiny bit of dialogue that says it, but while they've certainly made improvements with each game to help new players understand their systems better, that and to design the games in more user-friendly ways, like I mentioned with the decorations, to where instead of like having like a fucking arbitrary stat total you had to hit that was just really confusing and annoying, didn't make a lot of sense, versus just I slot on the ice gem, I have ice attack, boom, nice and simple. They've also just done a lot of design changes that help there, but they, they still fail in some regards to like tell people their other systems, which is why a
Yeah.
lot of new players will end up tripping each other because they just don't know their attacks will really flinch until someone's screaming at them and to be like, "Hey, stop fucking flinching me! I'm trying to do a Big Bang combo."
And also another thing is that just the combat and Monster Hunter games in general is rather a big turn on or a turn off for new players. 'Cause, like I hear so many like people say, "Well, I didn't like the combat," and then those people only put like 5 hours in the game and didn't really try to experiment with it or find a new weapon to play with. 'Cause
Yeah.
people
I'd
just
say one big different thing with Monster Hunter's combat, and this could be argued differently for some of the games, but it's kind of always remained true, even with some of the games that had flashier moves in them, like Rise and Generations, is that your weapons, like, a lot of times they can feel slow, a little clunky, but they always have, like, good weight to them. Like, you have a greatsword, which in other games, you may try to swing around super fast, like fucking Cloud Strife, do a limit break on something. And this game, no, you gotta slug that heavy bitch around. But those hits you do are like each meaningful, which is why the weapons feel so great to use. You feel like you're actually doing something to the monsters.
Yeah, instead of like just slapping them until they faint.
Hit stop, my beloved.
Hit stop.
What a good mechanic.
What a good mechanic.
True. But okay, we've been kind of shitting on like the game for a little bit. I want to talk about some positives here because like one thing in particular I think this game does a fantastic job with is that even though like obviously once you get used to the mechanics, it starts becoming like it starts becoming more simple as time goes on because you get a like a feel for everything and how everything's supposed to work. But we need to talk about what the main stars of the show are. Come on, the monsters. They're so
Well,
cool.
well, did we give our weapon mains? Because I feel like that'd be a really good talking point as well.
yeah, I guess I
Ooh,
briefly
that is.
mine, but we didn't talk about it.
Do we want to talk about that?
I'm completely fine with that, honestly. Yeah, no, we should probably do that first. Um, I'll let you guys go first because I have probably a lot of long-winded stuff for the longsword.
Oh,
Uh, all right. I guess I'll go first. Um, so for the entirety of World, I use the hammer, and I would only briefly switch to longsword if I ever had to like cut a tail or something. Which is something we should also talk. We'll talk about more when we get to the monsters. Of like how different weapons interact with them, but I use the hammer because as someone who was going into this series completely fresh and new, like had no idea, um, like really what I was doing and like stuff like that. I was like, okay, hammer seems pretty easy. It's just big hammer go smashy smash, monster die, the end. And I'm not gonna say that's not all it is because it's definitely a very big part of it, but I think hammer is just a really fun weapon because the amount of times I would just camp at a ledge, hold charge R2, jump off, smack the monster in the head, and pray to God I got a mount was countless. It was my main strategy, and it worked a lot of times, and it was funny. So yeah, I really like hammer. I think it's fun.
Hammer is fun in just like every game because again, it's a really simple strategy of hit the big fucking monster in the head till it dies. But also playing whack-a-mole with its face is always a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Wait, Brewer, you play the hammer as well, right?
I love
not
giving.
not in World, but I did in Rise a shit
I love
ton.
Okay, but like
giving.
just in the series though, in the series.
Yeah, no, I've played a decent amount of Hammer here and there, mostly in Rise. Rise was the game I played Hammer in the most.
I
You're telling
love.
me this is like the third or fourth time in a row where you two pick up the same exact thing?
I didn't pick up Hammer for this game.
Well, I'm just saying. Oh my lord, it's a pattern.
You're
Even
saying
if
that as if
okay,
you haven't played Longsword in about every game you've touched.
no, I'm saying it's like between you two though. It's like every game you play the same weapons. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just think it's really funny.
I think it's
I don't
just.
know if it really applies to this one because like I didn't touch Hammer at all in World.
I was
You're a
gonna
hammer player in Monster Hunter.
I mean, in Rise.
I was gonna say,
Same thing. It's okay.
I just think with me and Brewer, it's just real recognizes real for all of them.
Very true.
I guess
Very
so, man.
true.
The ones know how to knock the monster out.
Yeah. Well, I guess I still did some knocking in the game, just not as much as I did in Rise, because for the first time I picked up Charge Blade, which was a very great and also very much not great decision because it is a complicated ass weapon that can be very difficult to use.
No, it's
But
not. Come on.
shut up, Jay. But one fun part about it is some of the files that you could use, and I really liked using the impact files because yeah, you do want maybe some more elemental damage, especially against Elatrion. But when I'm not fighting that abomination, impact files are really funny because I do charge as SAED and then boom, monster gets knocked out. I farm more files off them.
Charge Blade is the pizza cutter, right?
It can be a pizza
Uh,
cutter.
Isn't the pizza cutter switch axe?
No.
No.
No, Pizza Cutter's Charge Blade.
Yeah, no, charge
Oh.
blade when it has like its big charge thing, it has like the shield spinning. The way charge blade works is it's a giant sword and shield in its base form. But what you want to do is you charge it up by doing some basic attacks, and then you gain files as you do them, and then you can use files to get a whole bunch of different effects. So you can just do a simple discharge attack with those files to get some extra damage. You can charge your shield to like get basically a stronger shield that can like block more attacks. But that also gives you access to more options like the SAED. That, and you can even you can put the sword into the shield to make it into a giant axe that rains hell down on everything.
Is that the pizza cutter?
Yes, that's the pizza cutter.
Yay.
I think more specifically that would kind of just be the Savage Axe mode that was introduced in Iceborne, the expansion, because they gave all the weapons like some new attacks, to my understanding.
Yeah, but
instead, if you press L2 instead of R2 when you're trying to do a specific attack, you'll go into Savage Axe mode, which for a limited amount of time you can just do some crazy damage, and your attacks will have a bunch of extra file effects onto them.
Yeah,
That's the easiest way to explain it.
I like calling it pizza cutter though because it's funny.
It is pretty funny. Monster Hunter has a lot of funny weapons.
Yeah, and one of those funny weapons being Switch Axe, which I am actually going to be picking up for Wilds, and I'm very excited for that. But
Switch X is a lot of fun.
yeah,
I played that. I played that in Rise
I've
as
been having a
secondary.
blast. I've been having a blast with it in the betas for Wild. But Liam, why don't you go over your weapon main?
I picked the funny spin weapon. I just wanted to spin. I saw that I could spin on the monster's back, so I picked dual blades, which is probably the most simple weapon in the game, which definitely helped me out because I'm a little slow. But anyways, I picked it because it looked funny to just spin on the monster, and I was right. It's very fun and funny. And also because I like being very fast, very mobile, and it complements it very well. And yeah, no, it's my favorite weapon. I'm using it in Wilds too because it's even more fun. Um, and then uh, I'm also gonna be picking up the bow because the bow is very cool.
Nice.
True.
Yeah, I've seen Bo.
Jay.
I've seen Bo gameplay in the Wilds beta, and it looks really cool. But yeah, Jay, what was your weapon main?
My weapon main is kind of funny because in base world, because I played World before Iceborne came out. I ran through it with mainly the dual blades, and I ran through in a big roadblock in the final fight against Xeno'jiva, and the weapon just didn't really work too well in that fight, in my opinion. So that's when I switched to Charge Blade, and I found my love at that point, and I just ran through the rest of the game with an Iceborne with Charge Blade.
It's kind of funny that for a roadblock you chose like what's considered probably the most complicated weapon.
Yeah,
one of the most complicated weapons to swap to is like, damn, dual blades ain't working. Shit, time to go get my PhD.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really funny.
Like I said, one of my friends he ran me through it a little bit, and I just through. I think my progress with Charge Blade was when Iceborne really came out, because that's when I started to learn all the really complicated things with the weapon, like guard points and
I was
just
just about to say, you want to learn guard points, kid?
yeah. Like guy heard me scream, "Get guard pointed!" so many times when we were fucking hunting a monster. It is so good.
Shit was
I,
so
I
funny.
yeah, and I ran Slugger on my builds, so whenever I used impact files, I was knocking out monsters left and right, especially when I would charge my sword, and I would
Let's go impact files.
yeah, impact files was like the only thing I used in World, because fuck Elemental. No, I'm kidding.
No, you're real
I
for
can
that,
hear
bro.
a
No,
Latreon
bro
in the
likes knockouts.
distance.
I don't blame him.
Yeah,
Yeah, knockouts are fun until you go up against a Latreon and you're like, fuck, I gotta use elements.
yeah, I forget how I beat Elatrion, honestly, but I ran Slugger 5. That was my final build I did with Charge Blade, and I was just rolling every monster I came across. And I had like
That's
a
awesome.
that and everything, so whenever I go into Savage Axe mode with purple sharpness, I'm just critting the monster and it's just shredding everything. But the Charge Blade is probably my favorite weapon ever. Just really well rounded, great defense, great offense, taking like really high skill ceiling. If you get really good, the monster can't really touch you.
So what I'm hearing is that that didn't happen for you.
What?
I'm saying you see. Let me explain the joke because it's a very funny joke. See, you said that the charge blade has a high skill ceiling, and then I'm saying the stuff that happens when you hit the skill ceiling didn't happen to you. Therefore, I'm calling you bad at the game.
I
You
mean,
explained it, so it's no longer funny. I'm sorry.
Okay, Mr. English major.
Yeah,
You see,
see,
Connor, my very short sentence there was way funnier than whatever the hell you were just trying to say.
so here's the thing.
man,
Get ratioed.
Jay
Connor, I'm
ruined
sorry.
my
You gotta
joke.
hold that, man. You gotta hold that.
Hold the L, Connor.
Also, an English major, so you also have to hold it.
I'm gonna give you some dual blades that you can orient into an L. That you gotta hold for the rest of the video.
But,
It's crazy.
but Brewer pretty much explained the charge blade in the simplest form. So
Yeah, I mean you're at it again though. It has a very high skill ceiling because
yeah.
seeing my kind of shit charge blade gameplay versus like someone on Team Darkside
Oh,
it's like night and day.
Holy hell! I couldn't like. I consider myself above average with the charge blade, but Team Darkside's like on a different fucking plane of existence.
No, they're crazy skilled at the game. Whenever you think you're good at Monster Hunter, always remember there's someone that's like Master Rank 999 that's 100 times better than you.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the thing about Monster Hunter, though, is that like it has like a very active speedrunning community for each monster, which is so cool.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I've seen like world speedruns, and it's insane how they're able to just kill like monsters in low rank. By the way, like just kill them in like 10 seconds. It's honestly insane.
Yeah, well, like low rank isn't too bad. It's just when you get to like master rank, because like when Jay mentioned Xeno'jiva was a roadblock, like part of me laughed in my head because I'm like, dude, compared to all the fucking shit in Iceborne, I'm like, dude, Xeno'jiva is like nothing.
yeah, that was still when I maybe had 100 hours in the game, if that. I probably had like 50 hours in the game and like barely knew how to run the dual blades properly, and just the lack of range really screwed me when I fought Xeno'jiva. So I just had to think of.
No, that's completely fair.
World was also your first Monster Hunter game, right?
Yeah, I goofed off like when I had my 3DS and I was like a little kid. I would like play. I would like hop on like the free demos you could like download, and I would play some of those on Monster Hunter. But I never really got into them because back then I didn't really like the cameras. For some.
Also on the 3DS games, if you didn't have a new Nintendo 3DS or the little Circle Pad Pro attachment, your camera was the D-pad that was under the main Circle Pad.
Yep, it sucked.
Yeah, and also those demos you mentioned, they weren't nearly as good as like the Wilds demos we have now.
No.
It was you get the request, you get Easy Monster, kind of a bitch, and then damn near impossible flagship that they do for every demo.
Yep, I can never beat.
You get 15 minutes to fight it, and it's super juiced up on steroids and will murder you in one hit with the equipment you can choose.
Yep. I've been considering, because since I have a Nintendo Switch, I've been thinking about like playing like 4U or something just to see how.
No, on a Switch you would be able to play Generations Ultimate. For Ultimate was only ever on the 3DS.
Oh yeah, it's Generations Ultimate then. My bad. I knew it was something Ultimate.
Yeah, you good. Yeah, Generations Ultimate is fantastic.
Yeah, I've been.
Oh God, there is so much to it.
Yeah. Stop me.
I want to say this. I haven't covered my weapon yet.
Well, then cover your weapon, silly.
You're kind of right. Not to interrupt the conversation, but I just wanted to say the weapon of my choice is the longsword, a very high skill, no like bitch made stuff required to play that game.
Get out
Okay.
of my frame.
Okay. The meme in the Monster community is that everyone hates longsword players, which like I'm gonna be entirely honest, kind of deserved, because like it's not even the fact that like they think the weapon is like poorly designed or anything. It's just the fact that like longsword players typically are like the worst for like no reason.
Yeah,
But
well, it's one of the easiest weapons to pick up, so a lot of casual players will lean into it. But also, like I mentioned before, the game does not teach you a lot of things very well, and one of those is you can flinch your teammates. So you'll have a longsword player just like be like, "Damn, I got to go ahead for the DPS," while also tripping their fellow hammer player who is trying to stun the monster to let the longsword player get more hits in, when they could be going for the tail that they could cut.
No, if I could say something real quick, for all the shit that longsword gets, I do sort of respect the competent players, because like the longsword takes a lot of timing and like skills for counters if you want to play it extremely well. Like longsword's like easy but hard to master, you know.
And I was actually going to bring up that point. Like the entire gimmick of the longsword is that it has like some of the most evasive. It has the most evasive capabilities of any weapon, and some of the most offensive. But as a trade-off, it has no defensive capabilities whatsoever. If the weapon is out, you will get hit unless you use its counters or invasive maneuvers that the weapon gives you to avoid the monster, which I think is a really fun aspect about the weapon because it constantly means that you're in the fight, and as long as you're skilled enough to like acknowledge what moves are coming out and how to time your moves, then you can constantly be in the monster's face, and I think that's so much fun.
Yeah, I agree. And to be fair, there are like a few other weapons like that. Like hammer, doesn't really has that sort of too where well, besides the evasive maneuverability, and it doesn't have any defensive options, which does lead into I mean, it makes sense because it's the bonk monster head they die. That's the weapon. But yeah, no, I very much feel that because it was also sort of like stuff like that where it was like I had to use like certain attacks to be able to like avoid attacks or be evasive and stuff like that.
But God, when did you start playing longsword? Was it always your forever main? Like, what were your kind of levels with it? Like how I talked about,
Okay,
like,
no, that's a good question because I actually beat the Monster Hunter World's like story first with Charge Blade of all weapons, and one day, I shit you not, I was just like randomly trying out other weapons that I hadn't tried out before, and I was like, okay, I want to see what this game has to offer with other weapons and stuff like that. And then I discovered my baby, the longsword, in training, and I was like, wait, this is kind of fucking awesome. And then I like tried it out in a hunt, and I was like, oh my god, I understand it now.
Bro had the exact opposite of Jay, where Jay went from like little baby like brain weapon to like having a PhD, where you literally just like went from PhD weapon to like brain dead baby weapon.
He went to pre-K.
That's
That,
crazy.
now that I think about it though, did fucking all of us at this point just beat the main story with Charge Blade? I feel like
No,
Liam and Connor secretly used Charge Blade at some point.
I did not use Charge
I've
Blade.
never used Charge Blade.
I
That'd be kind
was
of funny if just like they forgot they like secretly played Charge Blade once. You can you check their guild card, you can see one playtime, and it was literally just for the final boss.
just like black out and like play like Charge Blade once.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I never. I stayed loyal to my hammer. Besides, like the like 2 times I used longsword to cut a tail of a monster I needed materials
I
for.
don't think I ever once switched off dual blades. I think it was the entire game.
Yeah, it was basically the entire game for me too.
Bro was Levi Ackerman build.
I just wanted to spin.
I just wanted to.
Beyblade, let it rip.
Yep. I love what they did with dual blades and wilds, though. Dual blades and wilds are so much fun.
Dude, they're so fun in Wilds. Oh my, the perfect dodge? Chef's kiss.
Mm.
Yeah, I cannot wait for, and they also do a lot of damage.
Now, for how much I played the Charge Blade in the other games, because I played through all of World and Iceborne with the Charge Blade pretty much. Then I played pretty much all Rise with Charge Blade. So now I want to figure out, I want to switch it up in Wilds. So I really haven't decided yet. Because I've been messing with the heavy bow gun. I messed with the sword and shield a little bit. They all feel really good. That's the hard thing. Like,
Yeah, well, that's a good thing to mention about Monster Hunter. Just there's so much variety with the weapons. There isn't really any bad choices. I mean, there's some that are maybe objectively better than the others, but there's always going to be one weapon that you can have fun with.
Stinky sword and shield users.
I'll
Hey,
put
sword and shield users are the ones that are going to be healing you throughout the entire battle, so I ain't gonna hate on them.
like in World.
I mean, okay, no, Brewer does bring up a really good point though that like there is just a large variety of weapons because as of right now in the series there's 14 main weapons, all of them with completely different playstyles compared to one another, and I think that's for the better because like no matter what you're always being appealed to in some way, shape, or form. Like if you want to be like supportive and like focus on buffing the party, you want to play Hunting Horn, which has the ability to play
Give
tunes
buff.
and then play the melodies to give your party buffs. Or if you want to be a fucking bonk man and have no brain power and still win, you play the hammer, and it's awesome.
Or if you
I
want to
can
be,
say that because I secondary hammer.
or if you want to be a bitch, you can pick bow gun or heavy bow gun.
True.
Kidding. Heavy bow gun is very easy to use. I'm not going to say it's a hard weapon because it's not. It's not a hard weapon.
No,
the range
yeah, but-
weapons in Monster Hunter are very weird because like I wouldn't recommend them to new players, but if you have like just a moderate amount of experience. I'm like, yeah, just pick it up if you want. I want to get that free dope.
That's been pretty much me though, because like in the Wilds beta, I just picked up the heavy bow gun. I barely knew anything about it, and I still did okay with it because they added so many new things.
No, that's
Honestly, in Wilds, all the weapons felt very like intuitive. Like there's no weapon that I would pick up because I was trying them all out, and there's no weapon that I felt like, oh, I don't understand anything, except maybe the charge blade and its file system because that still eludes me to this day.
that's kind of a criticism I have of Monster Hunter World, where this kind of goes back into the fact of like the tutorial system of it's really hard to approach some weapons, and not only that, but like the reason why there's such a big disparity in terms of like weapon play rates for a lot of weapons is because like there's not a lot of stuff to teach you how to play the weapon, and also it's just like, damn, why spend the time now to learn a weapon like this when I can immediately pick up X weapon over here and do just as well? Like,
Great
I
sword.
shit you not, there were like a this was an insane statistic that came out like when Monster Hunter World was still getting updates. I think 44% of the active player base were longsword players. 44% out of 14 weapons. That's crazy.
Dude,
No.
I don't even want to even imagine what that statistic was like for fucking Rise. Because like, dude, Rise was so much worse when it came to longsword players.
Oh no!
That game suffers from weapon balance. It really does.
now I want to know that
If you want to
statistic.
know more,
So powerful.
if you want, yeah, if you want to know more about Monster Hunter Rise, though, you can check out our Monster Hunter Rise video. Oh my
Watch
goodness!
it. Watch it.
Woo.
It's awesome. But one thing, I know we've been talking about the weapons for a while because like this is like one of the most important things about Monster Hunter. But I do think we need to talk about like the main stars of the show being the monsters themselves because I
39
think
minutes in, and we're finally talking about the monsters.
No.
yay! But like to kind of close off weapons, there is always going to be a weapon that will appeal to what you want to play for, and I just think that is so sick. Just don't be afraid to experiment. But like with the monsters, those are definitely they are the main thing. All the content updates that we were getting for the game were all centered around monsters. If they were giving us like a free title update for the game, oh, new monster. And it was so cool. It was so cool to see new monsters, especially like when the Iceborne DLC came out and pretty much like doubled the roster of the game. It ended up with being around like 75-ish monsters to fight. It's a lot, and I want to talk about some of them.
Wait, 75 after
But
Iceborne?
yeah, no, there's a fuck ton.
I mean, I guess some variants are included in there as well, but still.
Yeah,
I'm looking this up so that way I can prove
you
Guy
can
wrong.
fact check us and be a nerd emoji. Gotcha.
So, yeah, base world. So the base Monster Hunter World has 37 monsters, while Iceborne brings it up to 71. So Guy is wrong
He's close.
Oh
as
my lord,
as usual.
Oh my.
crazy.
Yeah,
But I do want to talk about some of the monsters, like because I don't want to talk about every single one of them because I'm gonna be real. There are some of them that just deserve to be forgotten, like Lavasioth. That's the only mention we're ever gonna give that monster. Fuck you.
It's kind of crazy because
But
that's like
then there
I
were
think
some.
about the only Frontiers representation World had.
dang.
No more mention of him. Nope, he's out of here.
I'm gonna be so honest. I forgot about that monster until you just.
No more
mentioned
mention
it
of that
right now.
monster.
You
God
want to
damn it!
know
I hate him.
something that's really funny is that Lava Seoth was one monster. Like, you encounter them in high rank, but I did not fight Lava Seoth once until I got to Guiding Lance, and then I fought it like twice, and I was like, man, this monster sucks.
Man, I'd bring him up once and I say, let's forget him because he's forgettable, and then everyone's like, man, let's talk about Lavasioth.
My
Well,
guilt Lavasia.
yeah, Lava Seoth is a very well done monster when he goes into the lava and you can't hit him because
I
then
love the stupid lava fish.
yeah, he's so fun. Yeah,
Basically, the Lavasioth's mechanic is that he has lava around him and uses it as a hard shell. But the problem is with Lavasioth is that when you have like if your weapon hits like a hard material, it'll bounce off the thing and you cannot continue the combo or whatever you were trying to do at that point. And it's so annoying.
What?
Yeah.
If you play Charge Blade and charge your sword, it doesn't bounce.
Well, see, that's what you call charge blade privilege.
No,
Even Hammer,
Uh-huh.
even like even Hammer wasn't able to break through like or do anything with the shell, and like and it was like I barely have any combos to begin with, man. Why can't I bounce? Why do all of them bounce?
It's so
Yeah, it's
dumb.
it's an interesting monster, especially because it's
Yeah,
just very plain.
yeah. And since we're talking about the monsters now, I'm obviously not going to be super negative, but I will say a critique I do have with this game is that they don't have too many bad fights with monsters. But the thing is that when the monster is bad, it's really bad. Like really, really bad. Um,
Like
Valhazak and Black Veil Valhazak. Those fights suck. I'm not.
fart
I'm
monster.
I'm fine with like regular Valhazak. Black Veil just adds too much.
Yeah. For anyone wondering, Valhazak is a monster you encounter in high rank, correct?
Yeah, in the base
Yeah.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
base game.
and then it gets a super version in Iceborne, or a variant version, not a super version. But their whole gimmick is that they they will shoot out this thing called effluvium, and if you get hit with too much effluvium, you lose half your health, and the only way to like get rid of it is to use a null berry, and you only have 10 of those null berries. And if you get hit once, usually from like I'm pretty sure like with Black Veil, if you get hit like once or twice, then you're effluvium, unless you have effluvium resistance on, and it's just not a
Yeah.
fun fight. I
Dragonades.
Now that I think about it, this is probably how Elden Ring bosses feel whenever you run in with a bleed or a frost build.
or it's yeah, honestly yeah, but it's more broken than Bleeder Frost, which is scary.
I think the thing is that like when they were designing Valhazak and Black Veil, is that I know they had the idea of the hunter has to think around this like new status effect, and they have to put on like resistance jewels to like effectively counteract the monster. But the problem is that even if you have like the resistance on, you still have to deal with like half of your HP being gone, and then you have to pause the fight for 10 seconds, eat your consumable, then continue, which sucks.
Also, you have to heal back that HP from the half. It's not like you eat the thing and then it goes back to like what it was before. No, you eat it and then it goes back to full, and then you have to heal again in order to get it back up to full.
then
And that's not even talking about how you could just get hit by another attack from it while you're trying to heal and nullberry and stuff like that.
then boom, effluvium again, and you have to eat another null berry and try to heal, then get hit again.
Yeah, and I personally don't like. I dislike both of them strongly. I dislike regular Volhazak more because it's in the Rotten Vale, and I do not like the Rotten Vale. I think that area sucks.
No, that's fair. We'll be getting into the environments later, but like enough shit talking like some of the like bad monsters because there are like admittedly like mid to like fights, but I want to talk about like some fights that are like extremely memorable and like what make Monster Hunter Monster Hunter. My
Yeah,
personal favorite monster of the whole series too is Nergigante. It is an elder dragon, which are like elder dragons are basically just monsters that have the ability to just shape the environment around them, like changing the weather by on a whim, like really powerful things.
and they also can't.
Nergigante, what's up?
They also can't be trapped,
That
which
is
is
true. You cannot use your traps to give yourself an advantage. With Nergigante, his entire thing is that he's meant to be like a kind of decomposer in the ecosystem. His role is that he eats the dead bodies of other elder dragons, and he does that by just hunting them down when they're about to die and then just feasting on their corpses. And his gimmick throughout the fight is that he grows spikes across his limbs. And if you don't take out the spikes in a certain amount of time, then they become hard. So you do not only a lot less damage, but that gives him more time to set up with more powerful attacks. And I think it's super cool.
yeah, it's a really cool gimmick. And the thing is, it's not. I think the reason why I would also say Nergigante is my favorite monster too. But the reason I really like that gimmick is because it's not like as soon as his thorns get hardened and stuff like that, it's like you're just fucked outright from the entire rest of the fight, because he has these attacks that will like throw his thorns out, which sucks for you because you can get hit by them, but it also means that he will slowly lose them throughout the fight the more he does those attacks, which is a really cool gimmick.
True. And even if the thorns are hardened, if you attack them enough, you can break them off.
Yeah, you can still break them, which for the souped up version of Nergigante, I don't think that's true.
It is true.
Okay,
It's just a bit. It's more difficult. Ruiner Nergigante is just a steroid version of the monster.
yeah, I was
Exactly.
never able to fight Ruiner Nergigante because he requires MR or mass. It's is it MR or HR?
MR.
MR,
Master
yeah,
rank in Iceborne.
Yeah, he requires Master Rank 100, which
which is basically a very high level.
yes, it is a grind to get to MR 100, and so I just was like, yeah, no. And
What are some of
we'll
y'all's
go.
other favorite fights? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was
I
like.
really like. One of my favorite fights is a siege monster. I really, really, really like Safi Jiva. That fight is so fun. I did it for like 3 weeks. That's how I just kept fighting it, and it never got old because the whole gimmick is that it was a baby dragon that is now an adult and is now an elder dragon that just absorbs the energy of the ground and just gets stronger when it does it. So your whole goal isn't originally to slay him, it's to make it absorb all of the energy so then you can go and kill it. And that is just such a cool like intro to like lore and fighting a monster, and I really, really enjoy the fight because it's a very, very large monster. So it has very big hitboxes, but the hitboxes don't feel unfair. It feels very rewarding to like dodge its moves, but it doesn't feel like a pushover either. And I really like that about the fight.
That, and it has probably one of the rawest attack names in the game
Oh
of
my
Sapphire
god.
of the Emperor.
It's so sick.
Yeah. I was one that asked, what do you guys think about Alatreon? Because I was never able to fight Alatreon.
He's a fun fight.
It's a fun fight. It's just
he's a gimmick, and that's my problem is that he's a gimmick. He is not like it's a damage check, and then after you do the damage check, he's got cool stuff, but most of it is just, oh, if you don't do enough of a specific time of damage, you just die. It's not like oh, you're at a disadvantage. No, you just lose. And
Uh,
I think that's bad game design to just punish someone for not doing a specific type of thing and having to change like an entire build specifically for one dragon.
it's kind of missed because like I have differing opinions on Elatreon. Like I think for an end game monster, it's not too bad that they're gonna challenge you for that type of thing. My main problem with Elatreon for that damage check is, for one, the motherfucker flies around way too often to where you can't fucking hit him. And he always does it when I go into Savage Axe mode and my weapon is on the timer. I'm like, yeah. And then even worse, I think, with said damage check, like, I think using elemental weapons is fine. But with the way he swaps around his elements, and you can't, like, use the Farcaster in the arena to go back and swap a weapon out, or at least in this game, it's not going to be like Wilds, where you can swap a weapon quickly during the fight. You're on a timer to get as much done as you can, and if he swaps to the element that's completely resistant to what you're using, like if you're using a frost weapon, he swaps over to frost mode, then you're just not going to meet that damage cap unless someone else is using a different weapon.
I think also another issue with Alatreon is that you get access to him pretty much as soon as you beat Iceborne, and with a
Yeah,
lot,
way too early.
they don't have like the elemental weapons and the builds necessary to go into that fight. And people are obviously trying to beat Alatreon, you know, because new monster, people want to overcome the challenge, and people just go into that fight completely unprepared, and just I think that's a big reason that that monster gets a lot of hate. But also, like with what Liam said, is just can be a really frustrating fight.
I just don't like how it punishes. I don't like how the whole punishing of like it punishes you for grinding in the wrong way. So it's like, oh, you're going for a pure physical build. Oh, guess what? You can't do that. Oh, you need to. And like, this is a different experience for me because I played the game so recently. So I'm not playing it through its life cycle. So I kind of sped through the game. I have less than 100 hours and I'm on the final fight of the game.
Yeah.
But
Speaking the game, by the way, he means post game, which is
post
Fatalis.
game, yeah, I've been. I have one fight left technically, and I do almost everything.
You
But
have like
what I
100 hours in that.
really wanted to say is that the game experience is very different from current, like if you're playing it as stuff is coming out, as things are getting updated, to now when the game is done getting updates, because it's a very different experience when you're constantly getting fed new content, keeping you coming back to where I had to grind just to get ice attack, just so we could beat it one time, and now I have to go and make an entirely new build for the final fight, which is fine. I can deal with the grind, but the other problem is the whole low requirement means that like you have access to this fight, but you're just gonna get bitch slapped for like until you get to MR 100 and are able to augment your armor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
It's
or
crazy. Yeah.
yeah, that or even if you are a player who could like reasonably take on a monster yourself, if you just want some other randoms to join you, there's a good chance someone very unqualified could join and you fail the quest because of that.
Yeah. Right.
What's crazy about this is that Elytron is like the third hardest fight in the game, and then Fatalis being number one. They both can be accessed as soon as you beat the DLC, which is a very, very bad idea. But what's
Wait,
crazy is that the second hardest fight in the game, Arc Tempered Velkhana, you have to be MR 100 to go against it. Like that quest is locked until you get to that MR cap. So it's
Yeah.
like, what do they want? Like, what are they doing? You know what I mean? It's like
It's
they're locking off content because they know it's hard, but then they're doing the exact opposite for those monsters who are arguably harder or just as hard. You know?
Yeah.
yeah.
I think difficulty wise though, that's about like the only complaint I've ever really had with the game. Because for the most part, it's pretty fair until you like get to some of the post game shit, and then you run into Elatron and Fatalis. Because I think that they definitely should have been restricted to Master Rank 100.
there's
But
just
I think with Elatron,
Sorry.
its design at least, I don't really mind too much that like it may force you to like swap up your build, because like I feel like that's kind of what Monster Hunter is like usually always done to some degree. It's been less so that way, I think, in some of the newer games, to where you can just kind of run with one build and keep it that way. But they always usually want you to try new things, maybe craft a new weapon, maybe craft some different pieces of armor that have good resistances against a certain monster. It's usually not ever been just like always just do this one thing. Use everything you have around you to tackle all different varieties of challenges in front of you. I think Elatron's biggest problem is, again, just the low requirement for how difficult that fight really is. Especially
Yeah.
for a damage check as well. It'd be one thing if the thing just hit hard, but it hits hard, and you are probably going to play a little recklessly because you got to do as much damage as you can in a short amount of time.
Yeah, and so if you're going in at like MR 30, MR 25, something like that, and you're getting damage checked like that, a lot of people might assume that maybe they are not going to really think of like, oh, I just need to grind a few more upgrades and stuff for my weapon, stuff like that. And it's not like, oh no, you need to get like 30, maybe 40 MR higher, and then you can come back and fight this thing.
Yeah, I want to move off of Latron though, because it's one fight in the end game, because there's so many more monsters before that, so many great fights.
If I knew there were such strong opinions about it, I wouldn't have brought it up. The only reason I brought it up is because there was a funny story between me and
No,
Guy.
that's fair.
Yeah, I think a funnier,
I do want to ask
story
Brewer
though.
and Jay though what. I do want to hear what their favorite monster is though, because we have not talked about that yet.
Devil Joe. It's always Devil Joe.
Oh,
I love Pickle Joe.
Pickleman!
It's a savage beast that constantly just hungers for battle.
Bro just has those hunger pains, man. He just wants to chomp and eat.
You know, he's literally just so hungry he will literally die if he doesn't stop eating.
The definition
Bro's
of
on
hangry.
site.
The definition of a monster that's hangry.
Yeah. I think
No, literally.
my favorite monster would have to be Rajang. Just
Raja?
because he
Oh,
Goku!
Goku! Goku!
Goku!
Yeah,
yeah,
Raging's always been a solid monster about every game.
yeah, I think
Usually a very difficult challenge in some of the games, or a fair challenge, but always a very fun fight.
yeah, that's kind of funny.
like
I think my
Goku.
favorite thing about Rajang is his turf war with Devil Joe. It's kind of, like
Oh yeah, it kind of references like Godzilla versus King Kong.
yeah, it's just amazing because like Devil Joe just lifts him in the air, then Rajang just like fucking decks Godzilla. It's so funny. Because
It's really fun.
like neither one wins. Like they both take damage, which I like. Because like in some turf wars, it's like there's a clear winner, but like against like two other dragons or something, they always do damage to each other. So there's no real winner in that turf war.
You know, with you mentioning the turf war, there is
Raydell.
there is something really important I want to mention with World, because World was like the first Monster Hunter game to really hit the mainstream, and it was also very different than the games that came before it. It took a lot of inspiration from them, obviously, but graphically it was a lot better. But also, like, they did a really good job at just making it feel like you're in a living world with the monsters. And I think the turf wars were a great addition to that, because like in the previous game, if let's say I was playing 4 Ultimate, if Raging and Devil Joe were in the same area, those two for some reason would not care to fight each other. They would care about this tiny ass human, me, and just want to pummel my ass into oblivion. And it just didn't ever feel super realistic, because like, okay, yeah, I get they want to kill me, but why don't they want to kill each other?
Yeah. I understand why there's not like a turf war for
Wait,
every single monster,
is-
but
Is Turf War a world first?
Yeah,
Yes.
Turf Wars started in World. They had them in Rise as
That's
well, though
so
mostly in Rise,
sick.
the monsters would just fight each other because of the wire bug mechanics, but that's a whole other argument. But
Wait,
that's the thing I just wanted to mention. The monsters
so
were given a lot
cool.
more life. They felt like living beings more than just like a boss to fight. That's what
Yeah.
they still are at their core, but they add a lot more to really enhance the immersion of the game, which is why I think so many people love World.
yeah.
Because while Rise was a great game, you did lose some of the immersion with how arcadey the game could feel at times.
Yeah, I will say with turf wars, which we should I'll briefly explain because I don't think we've done that. A turf war is a thing where two specific monsters, when if they encounter each other in a area, there's a chance they will get into a turf war, and it's just this really cool sequence where they'll just beat the fucking shit out of each other. Sometimes it's even, sometimes it's just very one-sided. But it's just always a cool display because not only is it just like as Brewer was saying, it fleshes out the world and the life and actually makes the monsters feel like they are real instead of just like video game bosses, but they also deal damage to each other. So if you get lucky enough and the monster you're hunting is on one of the one-sided turf wars where they just get absolutely fucked, it means you get free damage, which is super awesome.
Also, they're raw as fuck.
Yeah. Also, because you guys brought up Rajang, I had a really just like crazy idea of like, what if in Wilds they add Rajang and they give him a turf war where with Raydao where he absorbs his like electric blast and stuff.
You
Right.
could probably
That'd
do
be so
something
cool.
like that. He literally rips off the unicorn horn and eats that thing like
Yeah,
it's a carrot.
Like, yeah, he literally absorbs the lightning. I was remembering that. I'm like, wait, they could have an opportunity to do something sick with Raydao and Rajang.
We'll see.
This is true.
We'll see. I expect Wilds to lean more into what World did versus Rise, into just making the monsters feel like a living part of the world, especially like with like kind of the herding that you have with a lot of these monsters being in packs instead of just like you fight a singular one in an area.
Yeah.
That, again, they've been taking more steps over time because like they've always done a great job. This is one thing I really love about the Monster Hunter games, like with the monster designs. they always just take extra little steps to make them feel realistic, even though they're very much fantasy creatures. Like there's usually always an explanation as to like why this monster can fucking blow up out of nowhere. It's like, oh, why can Brachydios just fucking punch you and his fist explodes? Well, it's because this interesting slime he excretes out of his body that has chemicals in it that will explode on you. That or Basilgeese's scales having like fucking gunpowder in them.
Yeah, there's no magic in Monster Hunter. Like all of
Pearl
it is set
Harbor.
in like some sort of reality, which is
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah. That's what I love about it so much because like, you know, even though like I know it's not real, they do a good enough job at presenting itself to where like I can believe this.
Yeah, it's something. It's like not to the extent of Pokemon because Pokemon does have a lot of like magical elements and stuff like that. But it's sort of like how Pokemon does it, where they when they try to explain like why can Pikachu shoot out electricity, it was like because he charges up static electricity in his like cheeks and stuff like that, and then he's able to like use that as his like attacks. Is they do the same thing in Monster, and I think that's always like so
Yeah,
cool.
Monster Hunter they just take it to another degree though, especially because like they have the team work together more seamlessly. Whereas in Pokemon, there's like, okay, let's see, this random fire slug is hotter than the fucking sun, according to the
Yeah,
Pokédex.
yeah, no, I obviously yeah, but like one of my favorite examples of how Monster Hunter does it is with Velkhana. Like Velkhana's whole thing is that it is able to like, harness ice so cold that it literally creates armor for itself. And one of the coolest ways it does this is that if you cut off its tail, it uses its tail for a lot of attacks. And if you cut off his tail, a lot of players will think like, "Oh my gosh, yes, finally, I don't have to deal with that stupid tail." But it will literally use its ability to give itself ice armor to regrow its tail back in the form of an icicle, and I think that's so cool.
Yeah, it'll make an artificial tail, which is sick as hell.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's so many sick examples of that in the game. I think my only real complaint with the monsters and world, and this was probably just because of the way the development went along with this being like their first big HD game. Base World did have a lot of like samey monsters that are like very similar, just like, oh, here's another brute or flying wyvern. They didn't
That
really do anything super interesting. Like they didn't have any insects come out like Nursilla, any spiders, anything like that.
Yeah, I noticed that problem too, especially in Iceborne when they introduced three monsters back to back that had the exact same body type of like two like wing arms that it would sit on the top and it would use them as weapons. Like you had Nargacuga to Barioth to Tigrex like back to back, and I was like, I'm noticing a pattern here, Capcom.
Yeah, also with just
Okay,
a
but to
lot of
be
their
fair, those are fan
newer.
favorites.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say with a lot of their just like even newer monsters as well. Like it just kind of very similar designs, like Great Gyros, Odogaron, and then Tobi-Kadachi. Like they're all great in their own, but you put them together, and it's like, okay, we need a little more variety in this.
Yeah, and that's something I'm looking forward to with WoW because already they've shown a lot of like very visually distinct monsters. Like we've got like giant spiders, we've got giant frog dudes, and your classic dragons and stuff like that. And it's like there's a lot of distinct monster designs, and I'm like, and not saying that the world designs aren't distinct, they are. It's just they use a lot of the similar body types. Where Wild seems like it's taking that criticism
Wilds is
and
going
flying
to
with it.
go crazy. We got spiders, we got big fish, we got, of course, dragons, we got dog bear.
We have
I
Raging
like
Monkey again,
I
though
like
different.
dog bear. Octopus.
Oh yeah,
Big fish.
the
I already
giant
said
squid.
big fish.
But
There's,
again,
there's a lot of big
Okay,
fishes.
they're and like they're just all, man. I love the designs. Like there's so many good ones. You have lightning dog, you have ice doggy, you have poison doggy, you have um you have nightmare pickle that has my favorite turf war in the game with Velkhana.
oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
where they beam clash.
They
yeah.
literally Dragon Ball Beam Clash, and no one wins, but it's awesome because one of them's an Elder Dragon and one of them's just a big pickle.
A big hungry pickle.
A very hungry monster.
Who would win? A god of ice and that can literally just freeze entire environments over, or one hungry pickle?
The
Yeah.
hungry pickle.
Yes.
I'm gonna go
But
for the
yeah, no,
pickle.
that. But no, that's the thing though. It's like I love talking about like the immersion of Monster Hunter World because like that was one of their big things with wanting to like bring the series into HD is to make it feel like a world you can live in. This is a feature I know it's not as utilized like in the game because the main game is kill monsters, get better. But the capture net feature in the room decorator I think is just a perfect example of like making yourself immersed into the world and giving you just more lore and details about the little things. So there's like a capture net you can use, and all the like little small creatures that you see in the environment, you can use the capture net and capture them, and you can have them as pets. I'm not even kidding. This is sick as hell. You can
My
go into a
favorite,
room
my
that you can
favorite.
design for yourself in the DLC where you can place these animals as pets in like different locations with like different furniture and whatnot, and they each have like their own size, their own weight, their own description of just like why they work in the world or like what their like main like little gimmick thing is. And the thing is, these are just like little creatures that you'll see in the corner of your eye while fighting giant kaiju. It's awesome.
My favorite pet is the Final Fantasy cactus.
Yeah, and for the achievement hunters out there, it's actually part of the game's trophy system. If you catch all the monsters or like certain size monsters and stuff like that, you get trophies for it. So
Yeah, no, they want you to like they want you to be immersed into the world, and that's why they give like achievements for that. Hell, even the big monsters, they can vary in size because like, there is no such thing as like a same sized creature like anywhere across the world. So that also goes for monsters as well. So you can have like monsters that are like of the same species that are really small compared to one another or very ginormous. And it's really cool seeing that variation because like their models will get bigger or smaller to like depending on that. Sometimes they'll do some goofy stuff with that as well. With like some event quests, like which will give you like special rewards. Some of the monsters that are like typically like pretty big, they'll make them as like small as a dog, but still do the same damage that they normally do. It's
Red
really funny.
Doggy! Man, there's so many dogs in this game. I forgot about Red Doggy and Black Doggy. There's so many dogs.
There are a lot of dogs.
It sounds like we're talking about a fucking Dr. Seuss book. We got red dog, blue dog, green dog,
Poison dog.
I mean, you're not wrong. It pretty much,
electric dog.
yeah.
Yeah. But I think we should go over the areas and locations in the game because I think it's safe to say that the areas are one of the more if one of the most important parts in just Monster Hunter
Yeah,
is
the arena.
how you work with the environment around
Yeah.
you.
Well, I think it
So
is interesting to talk about World specifically because, sort of like with the Turf Wars we mentioned, World had a lot of new features, and World was the first game to have like just a seamless map that you would load into. Because in the older games, the way it was structured, World still has this where like you have different areas designated in each map, like usually 1 through 10. They're separated and they have their different resources and monsters that will be said to appear in them. But in the older games, you would go to each of those areas by just a loading screen. You would run up, go to the end of like some hallway or something, and then you would load, and then you would go into the next screen, and that's how you would travel to each area. Kind of a hardware limitation, especially because of it being on the 3DS for a while with the games before it, that and just the hardware before it as well not being super powerful. But World changed that up a lot, and I think it was for the better because while there was some merit to the loading system, it didn't feel it doesn't feel as natural.
yeah, um, I really like how the areas in this game work because I mean, like as I said earlier, you really have to work with the environments in order to um like succeed basically. So like the maps just in as a whole are like super well designed to like the tiniest detail of like where you'll be able to find stuff. So like if you take one route you'll be able to find like red pits or just any other slinger ammo if you and like this one arena will have like a giant like rock above it or something that you can shoot at and knock it down and get big damage and stun the monster. Like it's all very like well thought out, and I really like that part about this game of like being able to use because whenever you're able to do that where you use the environment to your advantage, it just makes you feel so smart.
Me with the ledge as a hammer.
Me as
I
the
mean,
me
yeah,
at
that
the
was
ledge with
literally me.
dual blades.
That was literally me throughout the game of just like, all right, is there a ledge here? Go to the ledge and just farm jump attacks.
Yeah, no. So there's a mechanic in the game. I'll make this quick. Where if you do aerial attacks on the monsters, you'll build up a little meter for damage called mounting attacks. Where if you mount the monster, you can do like perform a little mini game where you wear down the monster's stamina, so you can get a free knockdown. So you and the rest of your hunter pals can get some free damage in. And Brewer and Liam can attest to this when I played with them, that I was a fiend when it came to this. They called me the insect glaive. The amount of times I was getting mounts throughout our hunts, it was insane.
I mean, I was the same way too with my hammer all alone. Of like just getting mods and stuff like that.
It's so funny.
Something else.
But yeah, no, that kind of stuff is built into the environment, and like Connor was saying, it's so cool that you as a hunter need to use the environment to make the hunt go as best as possible. To like you make sure you utilize the environment so that you have the best outcome of winning. And if you don't, then it'll be a lot harder, which is really cool.
Yeah, I do like just the sheer variety of stuff you can take advantage of because like you have big crystals and stalactites that you can knock down to like slam into a monster and do a lot of damage. You have a bunch of different types of ammos you can pick up to help take a monster down with your slinger to just shoot them at a monster. Maybe like hit them with a couple elemental attacks, or like make it to where you'll do more damage with your main weapon against them. That or stun them for a second, or even like possibly knock them out of the air if they're flying. There's just a lot of variety you can work with to where like again it leads into the creativity of the game, just how you want to play it.
Yeah, exactly. Um, what are our like? I guess I'll briefly like just ask if like what our favorite areas are. Obviously, we don't have to go super deep into them, but I'm curious.
Okay,
Mm,
I'm gonna get some flack. I'm gonna get some flack for this.
you're
I
gonna say
really
Ancient
am.
Forest, aren't you?
Base game, it's Ancient Forest.
Boo! Boo! Man with worst opinions wins again for
Okay,
sucking.
can I ask a question? Is there like a reason Ancient Forest gets hate? Because I also like Ancient Forest.
It's
Okay.
the
It's because it's
verticality.
very vertical. Yeah, verticality.
It's
Uh,
like the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree map. It's
True.
very confusing where the monster is most of the time, and the routing to get to certain areas is not very well telegraphed like with other areas.
Especially when my scout flies get drunk and they forget where the monster is.
True.
True. I like
Yeah.
Ancient Forest, but I definitely see that. Yeah, I understand that.
Part,
That happened.
I think like the bottom half of Ancient Forest isn't too bad. It's like a really pretty area, but then you
Yeah.
get to the top half and like if you accidentally jump off the wrong cliff or something, then it's like how the fuck do I get back to where it was without just like going back to camp?
Okay, see, I like the Ancient Forest for the bottom part. The top part is fun sometimes.
Guy likes being a
Guys, a
bottom.
bottom confirmed.
Yep, same joke,
Oh my
baby.
god.
Um,
Yeah.
I think I get. I mean, unless anyone else wants to go, I'll go next. Just real quickly, I really like my favorite area is probably Wildspire Waste, and it's a mix of like it's probably the area I spent the most time in. While I also just think it's a really well designed area, and it's also a great spot for Hammer because there's a fuckload of ledges everywhere.
Then is
I
where
should have
your
spoken like a true Hammer
favorite
player.
monster lies. Diablos.
Yeah, I like Diablos. He's a funny guy.
Very funny guy. I
Um,
used his charge blade throughout like the entirety of base world.
Diablo's Loki my goat because I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Slugger 5 really fucking good for Hammer.
He made you earn it though, Connor.
Wow, who would have guessed that the weapon that does the most knockout damage in the game pairs well with the skill that increases the amount of knockout damage that you do? Wow, who would have guessed?
You stumbled with your words there, which means you're wrong.
Oh my lord.
I love the logic there. I think my
All right, what's yeah, Jay? What's yours? Tell us. Tell us.
uh, it's not for it's. I'm not gonna say it's because of, like the map design or anything, but like for the lore behind the area, I think I really like God what?
Ronville.
Yeah, Rottenvale. Yeah, I don't know why the name just slipped my mind there. I think the
You said lore, and you had me there
yeah,
because like it has one of my. It's basically the corpse of one of my favorite monsters from Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate.
Galamadur. It's awesome.
Oh yeah,
Which is just like
giant world-eating serpent.
yep. Dude, I think he has the coolest lore out of all the maps, in my opinion. Not for the like the map design or anything, or like the area. I think if I had to go off that, can we count the guiding lands?
I'd say so.
I think the guiding lands is my most favorite, just because it's just open, has all the monsters from all the maps. You can just go through them and just. But when it comes to the lore and what I like to like read about the most, it has to be the Rotten Vale.
Yeah, I get that.
But
Well, it's very cool just like going through the area initially and then finding out later on like it's the corpse of just a giant monster. But that's
Yeah.
also where a lot of monsters just go to die.
Yeah. What's your favorite area, Brewer?
I think probably just Elder's Recess, mostly because I really like the Crystal Burst item, the Slinger item, and it's really funny because there's a bunch of those giant crystals hanging up conveniently waiting to be dropped on a monster.
no.
Really?
It's not because of that. It's because Dodogama spawns there, right?
Yes, the precious boy. We've never killed Dodogama though, only
No.
capture. And even then, we don't like to do that because we don't want to hurt the precious boy.
He's the best.
True.
It is very funny. I know Guy was probably gonna mention this as well, but I love how Capcom listens to their fan community. Because when Iceborne came out, they had a quest that was based around just people not wanting to hurt Dodogama.
Protogama is so cute as a monster that the fans just loved him. And then so the Capcom was like, okay, we gotta make like a quest for him in the DLC. And it was like it's like hurts too much to do it or something along the lines. That was like the title of the quest, which is really funny.
Yeah, the description is like, for some reason, even though this Dodogama is rampaging around the area, no one wants to take it out because it checks notes. It's too cute.
That's funny. Liam, what's your favorite area?
I really like Hoarfrost Reach. That's the one of two areas in Iceborne. It's all snowy and stuff, and it makes funny sounds when you walk in it. It's quite large, and the all of the areas are very like distinct. You've got like a hot spring, you've got like icy cliffs, you've got tunnel, you've got Velkhana's lair. Then you've got like a good amount of my favorite monsters all come from Hoarfrost Reach too. So that does help a lot.
And something to note is that we all gave different answers for like what our favorite area is, which kind of kind of goes to like the like props to the design team for like making pretty consistent areas in terms of like design and quality, which is really sick to see.
Yeah, and again, the monsters usually always pair very well with the region as well.
Oh
Like
yeah.
in the Hoarfrost Reach, you have like Beotodus, which is like this little shark that swims around, but it uses the snow as cover to swim under.
I really like Beotudis, and it's partly because he has like a chainsaw sound as his roar, and I think it's funny. But like one of my favorite examples of that area stuff is oh no, why is his name slipping from me? It's the giant moose dude.
Bombro, I was
Bombro.
just about to mention
I
him. I
love
Yeah,
love Bombro.
Bomboro.
I love Bombero too. He's one of my favorite monsters. Like I just love his thing of like his whole thing is that he'll like pick up stuff from the environment to like use his projectiles to throw at you, but because of that he can literally be found like everywhere, and every time he'll have like a different gimmick. So if you fight him in the ancient forest, he'll throw these giant tree chunks. Instead of it being a giant ball, it's like a huge like long like projectile you have to dodge. If you fight him in Hoarfrost Reach, his projectiles deal ice damage and will give you ice blight. I'm pretty sure if you fight him in the Coral Highlands, then he'll do water based damage instead, and I think that's just such a cool gimmick, and he's also just adorable and I love him.
True.
example of how the monsters interact with the environment they're in, which is just unparalleled to what they did with the other games.
Yeah. But I feel like we're getting to that point where we should be going into our concluding thoughts. Do you guys agree?
Uh,
Do we have anything else we want to discuss?
I
Big
mean,
I'm
big stuff. I think we're getting to that point.
Hmm.
yeah,
okay. I can start since I feel like between between me and Connor, we both have like an equal amount of stake in the game because both of us started MH
yeah,
Monster Hunter World and haven't done much else. So I can start. I started this game because Guy was kind of incessant about it, and I'm glad he was because it's become quickly one of my favorite games to play. I clocked almost 100 hours in it, and like that was a very fast 100 hours. Didn't feel like 100 hours. The grind of that game, although it can be a tiny bit frustrating and repetitive, it's never boring. You are fighting giant monsters with sick looking weapons, and that's all I could ever ask for. It's such a simple concept that just takes you so far into like, oh, this game is just, they know what we want as just, we want big weapon to hit the big monster and the big monster to do the big move. That's all it is for me, and that's all it needs to be because it is perfect. It is a perfect formula, and I am so excited to see it replicated in Wilds, but with brand new weapon moves, brand new monsters, and new environments. I am so locked in for this game. February 28th is going to be the best day of
okay,
the year.
yeah, I completely agree. I'll go next since as Liam said, we have a very similar stake in the game. Um,
One thing I want to say, not to interrupt, but basically what Liam is saying, the lesson here is that be excessive and annoying to your friends about your autistic obsessions, and when they eventually try it out, they'll love it.
um, okay, then Liam, why don't you recommend Guy Danganronpa?
You know what? The guy's being a little annoying, so I think we should sentence him to something. I sentence you to 10 years of your combos being interrupted by long sword flinches.
I'll
Against Lavasioth.
just do that.
And you
I'll
can't build flinch free into your set.
No.
no, we all need to.
Yeah,
We all need to like just learn
Okay.
a little bit of longsword and just go into a hunt with Guy and just focus on him the entire time. Not don't care about the.
I'm the monster.
Yeah,
true. This is how we introduce the Monster Hunter PvP mode.
yeah. We just flinch the hell out of Guy the entire time until the monster kills him.
That's
Exactly.
crazy.
But
All right.
I'll
Yeah,
go
you go,
next.
Connor.
So I have a very, very different experience with this game. For one reason only, and that reason is my PC sucks shit. So I couldn't play Monster Hunter on my PC. So I had to play on PS5. And this was a similar story with Liam of like how I got into it. Of like I was hanging out with Guy in one of our very rare IRL hangouts, and Monster Hunter World was like on sale at a GameStop for like I think $30, and he was like, "Dude, you have to get it. You have to get it. It's so good. Get it." And I'm like, "All right, I'll get it." Um, and then actually, I think no, I was gonna say I think you got it for me, but
I know I did buy it for you.
oh wait, yeah,
Yeah, I'm
that's
remembering that
right.
correctly.
You did get it for me. Okay, then that makes me that's what my little Alatreon gift to you was. It was payback for that. Um,
True.
but I played almost this entire game solo with very infrequent help from like SOS people, and then my goat Pearson, who would whenever he was free, he would help me do like big fights and stuff like that. Um, but so my experience with this game is a lot different than everyone else in here because they had the multiplayer and stuff like that, and I was surprised at how well I was able to do up until post game. And I will say this: a lot of the monsters can be done solo. I mean, the fact that I was able to almost get to Fatalis basically completely solo like proves that. But I do also think that this not having multiplayer definitely like soured the experience a smidge. I still think this is a very fun game. I still think it's a very good game, and I enjoyed a lot of it. I will say I wish I would have been able to play with more people because, to be honest, the Wilds beta, like both betas, they are the most fun I've had with Monster Hunter. And again, I'm not saying Monster Hunter World is bad. I'm just saying being able to play with friends and just go and kill these giant monsters all like as a team and being able to coordinate like different like strategies and stuff is just so much fun and it's so awesome. Um and so I'm very excited for Wilds for that reason alone of it having crossplay. Um, so I just can't wait for Wilds for that reason alone. But again, I want to say that I really enjoy this game. I mean, I wouldn't have been on this video if I didn't enjoy it. But yeah, World's a great game, but you should probably play it on PC since more people will be active on there.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
True, true, true.
I will mention real quick before we get into my concluding points. I do think they at least made it more accessible to play the game by yourself compared to the older games, because Monster Hunter World, I'm pretty sure is the first Monster Hunter game that implemented just like individual scaling, at least for mainline games. Because the way a lot of the older games were working, the reason why like the multiplayer quests were so difficult to do solo is because they were always scaled for 4 players. So if you were a solo player, you'd have to deal with like 4-player health bar with just one person fighting the big ass monster, constantly drawing aggro, which is what made it so
Sucks.
difficult. Yeah, it's what made like soloing stuff like old gen Fatalis so respectable. Not that like soloing it isn't respectable in the new gen as well, because it is a fucking egregious fight. But doing some of those challenging fights in the older games were like, damn, bro, you had to be playing like crazy to win those by yourself. But I do think it's a good thing that they had the scaling into newer games, so that if you didn't always have the option of playing with other people, they would scale it down to make it like more reasonable to do by yourself, that or to do with a couple people. That or if you had 4 players, it would still balance out to how it was in older games, to where you wouldn't just absolutely curb stomp the monster because it had no health.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think with that, though, I'm just going to get into some quick concluding points. I'm just going to say first, I love Monster Hunter. I've been a veteran series for a while. My first game was for Ultimate. And World was a very different game for me because, like, I for a while, I wanted to play World growing up, but I didn't have something powerful to play because I was a Nintendo kid. And I couldn't really get by another console at a time until I was a bit older. So I was kind of stuck with just, yeah, we got Generations and we got 4 Ultimate, and then eventually Rise came out. But I was very excited to start playing World last year, and it has been a fantastic experience. I like seeing all the ways they evolve the systems in Monster Hunter, all the little annoying aspects that they took out that kind of just helped the series progress forward, and then also a lot of the new ideas they implemented to just make the game its own now, and to also get a wider audience to the game. While I don't think World is perfect, I think it has some issues with like some grindy bits, some balancing in a couple areas, that and some of the monsters, especially in base world, being a bit samey. It is still, those still are very small nitpicks against a fantastic game that I cannot recommend enough. The combat, it feels as great as any other Monster Hunter game. They did a lot to improve it and to make it feel natural. You have a lot of different tools in your arsenal. Like hell, we didn't even mention the Clutch Claw in the game as well. That was added in Iceborne. The whole adds a
Such
whole
a
lot
cool
of variety
fucking
to how you
thing.
fight monsters, especially focusing on parts to tenderize them and break them easier. But then also just the monsters themselves. They evolved a lot of old fights to make them a hell of a lot more interesting than they used to be, while also adding new monsters like Nergigante and Safi'jiiva that were just amazing, fun challenges to go up against. That I'm just looking forward to seeing more cool new monster designs from them in Wilds, and the designs they did in Rise after as well were just fantastic. They don't miss with Monster Hunter.
They really don't.
Yeah, but overall though, again, I cannot recommend Monster Hunter enough, especially Monster Hunter World. It is a great bang for your buck, especially because it goes on sale all the time. You can get hundreds and hundreds of hours out of these games. So please, please play Monster Hunter World or just any Monster Hunter that you can, especially Wilds when it comes out.
So true, Brewer. Jay, would you like to go or would you like me to go?
Oh, you can go.
Okay. Alright. Well, I just gotta say, this is one of the most important pieces of fiction ever to me. This game probably gave me health issues mentally, and I'm okay with that. Because I think this game has done so much for me. It introduced me to the series of Monster Hunter in this fact that like it was very accessible to people. It was big. This is Capcom's highest grossing game ever. It has over 20 million sales right now, and I was one of those people who went along with the game as it was evolving, as I was getting more content. And oh my god, I've got to say, it was such a good ride going through. It's crazy to think that like from 2018 to like the beginning of 2021 was like the time of Monster Hunter World for me, and it seems like such a blur now because those were such important formative years of my life. It's how I met some of my best friends, like Jay here. I met him through an Xbox looking for through group post. If you guys remember what the fuck those are, God, I feel old. Yeah, I met Jay through that for Monster Hunter, and yet we still talk to this very day. It has done so much for me. Brewer and I would not be as close as we were if it wasn't for Monster Hunter, because we played a lot of Rise together. Hell, I'm even making more friends as time goes on. I know Liam's friend, Yair, I'm talking to him very frequently, and he's awesome, and that's what I love about this series. Not only does it have fantastic combat, fantastic monsters, fantastic worlds to just immerse yourself in, there's a sense of community, of getting better and helping each other out and becoming the best hunters you possibly can be. This game is more than just a game to me. It is a community. It is something I am very proud to be a part of. It's a very healthy community. It's very active. It's very vocal, but in the best ways possible. And I'm so glad that this game allowed me to be a part of it. Yes, there are flaws with the game. It is not perfect. Hell, it's not even like in my top 5 like favorite games of all time. But to understate how important this game is to me would be a crime, because it has done so much for me in terms of being a person, that I just have to give it credit where it's due, because this is still like, in my opinion, one of the best games ever made. And I have so many feelings towards it because it really helped me through those formative years of like late middle school, early high school, where I was still like trying to figure myself out, and then I just had those people alongside me to help me and take on some fucking monsters with me. It was awesome. But yeah, no, I just gotta say, play Monster Hunter World. It's fucking goated.
I think everyone's really said that, like, just taking the words out of my mouth, but like going back to what Guy said, like Monster Hunter isn't really just a game; it's a community. So of all these amazing people and these hunters, and you meet all these amazing people that share the same love that you have for the game. At least I hope you guys love Monster Hunter. If you're not, then why are you on this video? But
And you're fake.
Monster Hunter sucks. I'm joking.
it's been one of the best games I've ever been a part of. Like what Guy says, I met some of the most amazing people playing Monster Hunter. Some of the best friends I ever had. Some of the best hunts. Some like just one of the best games I've ever played. I think it's, if not one of the most games I have the most time in. I have like almost 800 hours in Monster Hunter. And it's
Dude,
just,
I have 1100 in World. It's insane.
it's the game is one of the best investments you could ever make in terms of if you want something to do, just play Monster Hunter World. Like you'll never run out of things to do in that game unless you clock 2,000 hours. Because I'm sure there's some things that Guy can still think of that he can do. with
I
11.
didn't do all the quests. I still haven't done all the quests. Yeah.
See? And not to mention like playing all the weapons, making different builds for them, just experimenting, just getting better at the game because that skill transfers over. Like when I played World as a beginner, I wasn't that good. I didn't know a lot of everything. I wanted to rise, and I was like that skill carries over for the most part. You have an easier time because you're not new to the series, and the same thing's going to go for Wilds when that comes out. Is you just make you a better player and just that's I don't know. That's about all I have to say. Just an amazing community, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Oh yeah, man, that's what's up. It's like Monster Hunter is a magical experience that you really cannot verbalize, but more so you have to like give it to people. You have to be like you have to trust me on this.
Mhm.
It is a magical experience. I'm so glad everyone here has experienced at least the biggest one of the series in terms of like the like sales and like outreach because holy fuck this game is so good.
You know what's crazy too is that Wilds is probably going to be bigger because
I know.
didn't the beta downloads for Wilds literally beat out like world sales up in like a day?
No, okay, I know what you're talking about. The Wilds beta, which is the most recent Monster Hunter game that is coming out as of recording in about 2 weeks. It is the initial beta of the game within a day already beat the highest player count on Monster Hunter World PC.
Yeah, it was insane.
Absolutely absurd
It had like
levels.
it had like 500,000 people immediately as the beta came out, which is insane. That is something you do not see anymore with a lot of video games.
Yeah, exactly. But I I completely agree. Like this game is really just like even though I didn't get to play with anyone, it definitely has furthered my bonds and relationships with you guys. It's like Persona. Um
Oh,
yeah, but I completely agree. And the fact that I'm gonna be able to do that even more with Wilds just makes me so happy because I already had like the very basic or not basic, but I already like the base gameplay of World, and so now that I'll actually be able to play with people, I'm like, holy shit, this is gonna be awesome. But yeah,
it's gonna be so raw, dude.
I think that's all we have to say on this amazing game. Do you guys agree?
I think so, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with that being said, if you like this kind of content and you want to see more of it, please hit that subscribe button and hit the like button. And if you want to comment down below what your favorite Monster Hunter experience was, or if anything interesting about Monster Hunter, please comment down below. Tell us what weapon you play, what's your favorite monster. But with that being said, guys, thank you for watching today's episode, and happy hunting.
Happy hunting.
Goodbye.
Make sure to like if you think Devil Joe's the best monster. Don't at me.
Goodbye.